Hello everyone, good evening, and welcome to a new edition of the Indian Express Explained Live, our series of online explanatory conversations with domain experts and authorities on specific subjects. I am Monojit Majumdar, editor for explanatory journalism at the Indian Express. This evening, we are discussing air pollution, specifically in the context of the situation that we see every year in North India around this time, around Diwali. It happens because of a combination of natural and man made factors, and Delhi NCR, especially, has been going through a terrible phase of bad air. I mean, we had a spell of rain last night, but it's been really bad, as those of you who have logged on from this region know already. Is this problem unsolvable? It's been happening for many years now, and we've almost got used to it. And now we see the problem in other places also, like in Bombay. So, is this problem unsolvable? And if it is not, how can we solve it? To discuss this question and maybe get a few answers, we are honored to have here with us Dr. Gufran Beig, perhaps India's most eminent authority on air pollution. Dr. Beig was the founder director of SAFAR, that's the System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting Research. That's a government-backed initiative to monitor and forecast air quality in some metropolitan cities. Dr. Beig, thank you for your time. We are delighted and very grateful to you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Speaking to Dr. Beig will be my colleague, Science and Climate Change Editor at the Indian Express, Amitabh Sinha. Amitabh, you are a bit of an expert in the subject yourself. You have reported for many years on this issue, and you have covered a wide range of subjects related to you. All of you who have logged on can read Amitabh's wonderful reporting, analysis, and commentary on our website, www.indianexpress.com. Today's explained event is brought to you by our partner, Plutus IAS. My thanks to our partner. And to all of you who have logged on, welcome once again. Amitabh.
Thank you, Manojit. Thanks a lot. Welcome, Dr. Gufran Beig, to this event, to this program, and a warm welcome to everyone who's joined in and who will join in over the course of this event. Thank you all. People who have been following news events in the last couple of weeks or over the years as well probably are familiar with Dr. Gufran Beig's name, if not his face. He appears frequently on television as well, so probably you are familiar with his face as well. The way we intend to go about this event, Dr. Gufran Beig will make an opening presentation, and that then we'll get into a conversation with him, and then after that we'll open it up for audience questions. If it is fine with you, Dr. Beig, I think we can start. You can load your opening presentation. Thank you. Dr. Beig?
Yes.
Huh.
Can you see my slides?
Yes, it is fine.
Yes. So good evening to all of you, all the people who are joined this Indian Express wonderful initiative. And thank you very much for my introduction, as well as to Majumdar, Mr. Majumdar sir, as well as Sinhaji. The topic which I am going to cover, I think Delhi was waiting for my talk to initiate, because I understand today there is a rain. But it got little respite. But unfortunately, I still see that air quality is still in a very poor category. Well, we got rid of severe, but that is there. Let us hope that more rains comes and then we get the air quality much better. Now, with this, I will start, normally I start with the introduction of the subject or something, but I think it is now timely and seasoned that I should start with the current affair. And the current affair is something where this graph is nothing but we would like to show you in Delhi from 20th October till 9th till yesterday, what is the air quality was all about. This is PM2.5 concentration in Delhi, averaged over all. This is microgram per meter cube for your information. It's not an air quality index. And you know, the line, parallel blue line, dotted lines are demarcating you good, satisfactory, moderate, poor, very poor, and severe. That categories. So, because you know, as a scientist, we normally talk in terms of a microgram per meter cube, and air quality index for simplification. But for simplification, I have written that. Now you will see that air quality was more or less in a moderate to poor category until about, let us say, end of October. But you know that sudden jump from 1st November and from very poor, it has directly jumped to the severe. 250 is the limit, upper limit for very poor. So it has gone to 286, 300, and then 4th of November was one of the worst day in which air quality PM 2.5 has gone to 323 and all. So, well, you see that out of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days we have spent in between, there was a dip on this because winds have gone little high. But the tunnel which has been made from North India until to Delhi on a night of 2nd and 3rd, where huge amount of intrusion because of the favorable meteorological condition is met, which has happened. Now, you know, this is what is our model related simulation, that all those three badly, this from 3rd November to 7th November, this is the whole of NCT, extended NCR, NCT region. And you will see that maroon color and red color, this is all the way. So it is a uniform kind of a increase. What does it conveys? It is not a hot spot like a thing that conveys that there is a large scale phenomenon. If it is because of the local impact, then it will be a normal hot spots. And this particular slide tells you a complete story. What is this for a simplified region? That on a daily basis over Punjab and Haryana and many other areas, we make a emission inventory of the PM 2.5 with the stubble burning related based on the counts and everything. So this is a special distribution where you can see Punjab, you can see Haryana, and you can see Delhi. And this is the distribution, darker the color, reddish, more of a high emission. That means more intense fire counts. Then you see the fire counts, which is one of the lowest so far since 2018. I have not shown because of the paucity of the time the comparison, but you see that from 20th October onwards, these were less than 500 or so. Normally it starts from 15th of October in a normal course, but this time it was not. And then suddenly, you know, on 1st and 2nd November, it has gone to more than 1,000 or so. Now, the percentage share which has been calculated, which earlier SAFAR used to calculate, then now we have a diagnostic model at NIAS in a IISc, where there is a combination of a artificial intelligence as well as chemical transport model. And then from there, we could find out the percentage share of PM 2.5 in Delhi's air. So that should be very clear. This is specifically for these days. Now you will see that suddenly, because of the non-favorable weather conditions, although counts were something like 1,000 also earlier, but then suddenly on 2nd November, the contribution had gone to 29%, then 40%, and 5th November, the contribution was the highest of this season, 42%. It started declining 38 because not because that intrusion was less or something, because the one which has already entered on 2nd and 3rd of night, the lifetime of this PM 2.5 is hardly from 2 to 4 days. And because of that, it started dying down, the PM 2.5. So this is a natural kind of a decay because of that, and still it was there up to about 27%. So anything above 15% or so is like dangerous. So here we would like to show these are the fire counts. This is the percentage contribution, and this just to have a feel of you that this is how this is like this. Well, they just to show that India's first and only indigenously developed forecasting framework, all this work which has been done in an extended version of this particular paper, which has been published in a very reputed journal. So that is what we are proud of, that Atmanirbhar Bharat, under which we develop our indigenous SAFAR system and its extended version. Then look at this has happened in Delhi, but look at different regions of India. On a particular day when Delhi was seeing its one of the most dangerous peak. So I had put it north, central, west, east, and south India. See, the emissions are more or less high everywhere, but look at into that the northern part of India, whether it is Ghaziabad, whether it is Chandigarh, whether it is Delhi or something, they are all in the maroon and red zone. Then central part of India, you would come to yellow, and then when you come to east and south, at the same day, same kind of a season in India, it is even in green, it is there. Why these discrepancies? You cannot blame it only to stubble burning. That is what we are going to cover today, that what way all those things have come, what are the reasons, how nature is playing the role in this, and how okay, this is just to show you that in a same diagram, but to show you in a air quality index color, that in a different part how diversity is there even in air quality during this time in the country. Now with this current affair, I am coming to air concept very briefly in India to say that how basically the answer to this, why from one region maroon it has gone to green at the same day. Our concept of build-up of any air quality based on three concepts. Baseline level, naturally present in the atmosphere due to local natural activity, which is there in the atmosphere all the time. As greenhouse gas, you see CO2, if would not have been there, life would not have been sustainable possible here. So some quantity of baseline level was required. What is bad is enhanced level of those. So similarly, what we call is a standard acceptable level, which is even baseline level is something which is naturally present in equilibrium. Then there are local sources of emissions. There you come to emission inventory, and here I prefer emission inventory over source apportionment, because source apportionment anyway you can get it from the model. But if you have to work locally with the local government and you are finding the boundaries of the states, although pollution do not see the state boundaries, but you are specifically responsible for doing that, emission inventory is the best product. Then external transport, outside city boundary, source of emission, and that is something which is making things complicated for a common man. This much emissions is there in Bangalore, air quality is still in green. Same kind of emissions are there in Delhi, but it is problematic. And that is where climatic zone, weather, geography comes in picture. And that is where there is a term which is called airshed concept. And I can just give a hint here, but finally when I come to the solution, this is what airshed concept, airshed approach need to be done if we have to tackle the pollution. So far, that airshed concept, airshed approach is not there. We are more concentrating on a local pollution and all those, but airshed concept is very important. So that is where, again, I would like to tell, climate, weather, geography do not produce air pollution. They only maneuver, they only redistribute, they only make them to redistribution based on the geography, weather and all. Well, this is one of those policy brief which I would like to show that although we all suffered during the pandemic and lockdown, but this in the blessing in disguise that it has provided an opportunity to get India's baseline level. And because other baseline level is something where you stop all the sources of emissions, anthropogenic sources of emission, then what is the concentration? That is what is the baseline level. So when there was a lockdown, not only Delhi, but everywhere, all over India, but all over the world, there was a time which is the first week of last week of March and first week of April in 2020, when the sources are all gone, lockdown. And that was the best time to get the level. And that is what in a policy brief we try to find it out. And that is what I vouch that when we come to WHO level, which is air quality guidelines 5 and Indian national average is 60, we should not be bogged down by that 5, because susceptibility, adaptability, and epidemiologically that is very important. And baseline level is something by which over a long period of time you are supposed to be susceptible to that. Well, now this is coming to the fact that this is how the regions in India and air quality differs. Different climatic zones. You will see the changing colors when you are finding in my left hand side. Basically 6 different climatic zones. Major players after in the climatic zones are weather, emissions, geography. Now look, this is a very important thing which I think you should look into that point, which now I am going to tell. That there is a airshed region which we could find out with our model, which differs from city to city. For example, airshed for Delhi is this dotted line in top right hand side. Airshed of Mumbai is the dotted line, not the left hand side dotted line, the one which is a straight line, and this. Much less airshed of this. If mitigation measures has to be taken for a considerable, significant improvement, airshed approach is required to be taken. And this is the airshed approach region. If you take all the measures which we have been taking of late in Delhi, in this region, I do not see any reason that you will not get the impact. Mumbai, it is much less because 3 sides it is surrounded by the sea. Well, I'm now coming to the closer to that because I don't want to stretch, but then these are the normal sources which are there when there is a fair weather condition. So this is local. You need to talk about all those. Now, this is very interesting. You will see these 4 cities, Delhi, Bengaluru, Mumbai, Chennai. I had given the emission. So you just see the number. Forget about this gigagram per year or per all those, but just see the PM 2.5 has an emission which is about 78 for Delhi, about 58 for Bengaluru, Mumbai 44, and Chennai. As per this, the air quality should have been worse for Delhi, then next is Bengaluru, then it should be Mumbai, then it should be like this. But then Bengaluru is one of the best air quality, very close to Chennai, in spite of having this much emissions. And that is where I have written airshed, landlocked, altitude, coastal, that gets into it. This is on all parts of that. So anyway, these are the comparison again for a different cities. Now, this is again very important thing. We always get confused. What are the sources? Somebody says transport, somebody says dust, somebody takes something, somebody says industries and all. But then sources of emission changes with pollutants. With now, when you come from Delhi to Pan India, when you talk about Delhi, this is updated 2022 our own emission inventories, which has been prepared along with us with Utkal University, Professor Sahu. Now just see that Delhi 41% is a transport. This is PM 2.5 I'm talking about. 18% is industry and all. But when you come to Pan India, 35% is a biofuel emission. Transport goes down to how much? Only 19%. So just see that how these things are changing. So in a national wise, if you look, biofuel usage is an issue which has been largely taken care for some period of time with the Ujjwala scheme, and then it has been adopted, and there was a significant decline in biofuel emission around 2018 or 17-18 time. So this is just to show you that how things are, that when you go from city to this. Now when you look for, this is again a national emission inventory with 10 by 10, and here you will see, just to show the same thing, PM 2.5 all India, but the right hand side diagram is to show where the maximum emission lies. Just to see the comparison of that. Red maroon color highest, blue color is the lowest. This will provide you the on an average. So air pollution normally follows this kind of a trend, but not necessary that when there is a red and maroon, air quality has to be bad. For example, Bangalore is one of them. And that is where airshed approach comes in picture. Well, the moment you get out of Delhi, you will find these things. And this is something which is related with our socio-economic aspects, and then we need to work on that. Now, few slides about challenges for tomorrow, and that challenges are related with these factors in a different scale. Local calm wind, local dust lifting, local firecrackers, local winter cold radiative fog, local shallow inversion layer, large scale dust storm, medium scale stubble burning, large scale circulation, delayed monsoon retreat, medium scale external transport, medium scale advective fog. Advective fog, I am talking about medium because it is coming from IGP region, which is going to happen from December to January. We are not entered to that particular level. So far, whatever, if at all there is a fog in this area, which is not there in November, but if it's there, that is going to be radiative fog, which is locally generated fog. These are the issues which were there before, which are there now, but there are some which are getting exploited, and needle of suspicion always goes to climate change. What is happening now is, earlier there used to be extreme events, but that used to have a discrete pass, 7 days in 3 months. Now, this month itself, you saw that whatever it used to come in 1 year, it has come in 7 days. November 7, November, this was earlier, but it is November 2 to 10, 7 days. And that is what is an emergency. And that is the reason that health impacts are seen very high. So the general thing is perception driving the air quality issue in India. Common public is simplified narrative influenced by media. So the media has to play a very important role, which is playing very important role. And that is the reason I am very happy to be in this platform, that you are one of the pillars who are really working too hard to get the air quality of our country by enriching with the knowledge to the common man. Subject it, but deeper scientific understanding with respect to evolving process. So that is the scientist. Intellectuals are the one which is a soft science and implication, policy makers, implementers, activists, etc. They all come. Then subject expert is something which is a kind of a overlapping with both commonly public intellectuals. And that is where our total perception varies from there. Now, this is one. I talked about there's a climate change. There was a La Nina impact, where what this La Nina has done in 2022-23, that this is a central Indian tectonic zone. Above that, the winds in 2022 were faster. Below this, winds in 2022 were slower. And that is one of the reasons that you saw in most of the cities in peninsular India. Mumbai, what's air quality of the decade last year? But best air quality of the decade last year in Delhi. Just see, Southwest India, North India, with respect to the common percentage change in PM 2.5 in 2020 with respect to 3 years average. Mumbai air quality has gone worse by 30%, Vapi 28%, Pune 25%, and so on. And the improvement in air quality was 35% in Ghaziabad, Rohtak, Delhi, about 10% or so. And that was, I did tell that this is what something which is a La Nina, large scale circulation, which has made that 850 level winds, surface wind faster, upper wind. The winds last year hardly came to Delhi towards stubble burning. And it was where it was going. From here, instead of going here, it has gone towards Mumbai. So this stubble burning, which was happening, has a role in deteriorating Mumbai air quality also last year. And that is what you see that 850 millibar, this is coming this side. So all these areas it is so slower winds, faster wind, and that is an artifact of La Nina, which was the unique of its kind. Well, this was another thing where again this is the kind of a La Nina extreme weather and air quality in Western India. It is all written. I don't want to read it, but then this is the model related simulation. Coming to the last few slides about the solutions. Before I do the solution, I would like to put this fact sheet in front of you. 10 years of air quality daily, PM 2.5, PM 10 on the top, PM 2.5 in the middle, PM 2.5 by PM 10 ratio in the down. Let us look at the center. From 2011 until 2022, this is the trend. Now, blue line shows there is a marginal improvement. We are still close to 100, 90, 85, 90. Now, when there is a highest air quality, from there you subtract 2022, you may get a big number of percentage improvement. You can put it from here, you can get another big number from there. But the way you need to find out the trend is not subtracting from the highest level in the past to what you got it today to see the improvement air quality. And this is what the scientifically generated curve fitting for a long series of time, which indicates that there is an improvement, but is a marginal improvement. But the good thing which is seen is this, that the ratio of PM 2.5 by PM 10 is also declining. What does it mean? PM 2.5 recovery is faster than PM 10. What does it mean? The particles which are coming from a high temperature combustions are declining, or dust related events are increasing, because PM10 is increasing. That is why the ratio is declining. So this indicates one of those that source level is shifting with this. And probably this is also one of those indicators where we are shifting from a diesel driven to petrol driven to CNG to electrical, all those. And in a recent time, this improvement is more. Now, this is one important solution which I would like to spend some few minutes. Can Delhi minimize the stubble related emergency episodes? Onset of winter in Delhi bring fear of smoke frequency and all. SAFAR model forced with special burning emission inventory and business as usual emission. If the Kharif crop is sowed just about a month earlier, leading to stubble burning a month later. Solution: In case smart options are explored, then such mitigation approach, however, requires a feasibility study and policy level intervention. Finding will help policymakers and technologists. This paper was published in 2021. What is that paper is all about? It shows, next slide. It looks little complicated, but it is just that we have run the model where stubble burning is shifted by 35 days behind. It means harvesting, if sowing, which happens now when the monsoon is onset, earlier, before the agriculture policy was in 2008, 2010, before that, the sowing was much before the monsoon. But then there was a fear that water table may go down because it was a stubble, not stubble, it was stubble, paddies. So it has been shifted to a monsoon time. That time it was not realized that this is going to trouble us now after the, because that was the time when you know there was a huge reduction in transport level thing that from petrol diesel we shifted to CNG. So there was a huge advantage. At that time also we had gone to this kind of thing. So even if there is a stubble burning related intuition that time, that got marginalized because of that particular thing. So here this shows that 8 episodes in 2021 when we got it, extreme events which we got it, we would have got nil had it been same stubble burning would have been a month earlier. So the solution here is, in addition to many other things which has been done, this is purely a scientific based. Delhi can minimize the emergency episode created by residue burning, a potential option for policy planner if sowing is shifted back by 35 days. Harvesting, that time in September when harvesting takes place, the winds are not favorable, winds are still faster locally, and the same thing happens in Rabi Fasal, February, March, April. We don't get problem in Delhi because winds are not favorable. We are not entered into the winter. So that is what is important. This is one of those. Then next, which we have been working with more intensely on a artificial intelligence, which is the time to come next time, and next generation 3D visualization, and for which we have recently made a kind of a drone based artificial intelligence, where if you would like to understand the hot spot for emissions, we are trying to find out from the activity data over that. And this is something which we have been doing in Bangalore with Bangalore government, where with the drone related sensors, you try to do this kind of a hotspot identification. This can be done on go to the city like in Delhi when there are huge thing, and you can find out how you can find out with that. So see this. So it was a simple normal which flies not tens of meters only, and from there you try to identify. Well, we have used it for activity data generation. This is artificial intelligence, from where you are identifying different kind of vehicle, number plates, technology, year of manufacture, and with the survey you find out the VKT, vehicle kilometer travel, and with this you get. So why I am talking about this, we are doing for development of emission inventory with high accuracy and uncertainty in Bengaluru. But then same kind of a thing, you can capture the hot spots where when the pollution is very high. So at least that hot spots, if you capture, your mitigation action should be focused. If you have to have a water sprinkling, you do it on those hot spots instead of blindly doing everywhere. So that will not have a water wastage. I mean, I'm just telling that this is one of those solutions which happens. So it is important to have now my last take of the 2 slides, focus on enforcement. This is one of the most important thing, that we must have our focus on enforcement, implementation strategies, linking air pollution to health impact, then disaster management, an extreme pollution event, rain, unseasonal rain, cold wave, heat wave, monsoon fluctuation. These all are happening and interlinked, and this is in the changing climate. These are all helping us. Capacity building, these were one of those things. So, well, recently we did started University U75 with a very smart cloud network where 75 universities are coming together to see that how we can achieve the net zero. Carbon emission as a student are the one which are pillars of our strength, science. And that is what the mission which is going very fast again, where the students will do and map everything. And I think with this, I close. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Beig. Thanks a lot. A very, very informative presentation. Some very interesting slides there. I'm sure we'll talk about it. Some of those slides, the information contained therein. But let's begin, Dr. Beig, with the with the big question first, and then we can get into the nitty-gritties of it. The big question, and which is also the subject of our discussion, is, is the air pollution problem solvable? And as in, can we see not just Delhi, but rest of the cities also? Can we see clean air in the cities, at least by our own standards? If not, we are not adhering to WHO standards in the immediate future, but at least our own standards, 60 micrograms, for a 24-hour average. Is that problem solvable? One of the reasons I'm asking is, the parallel that is often drawn is with climate change. And with climate change, we understand that even if something very drastic happens, a very drastic disruption happens, and suppose even, speaking of a complete, a reduction in emissions supposedly happens, and emissions come down to zero, even then the climate situation is not going to, global warming is not going to turn favorable immediately. We'll continue to be in this situation. It will continue to get worsen for at least few years before it comes back. But I believe that would not be the situation with air pollution, isn't it? Air pollution, it's a much more simpler and solvable problem, isn't it? So if that is the case, then how long would it take, given, considering if governments do take all the measures in all earnestness, then what is the time period that you see that the air quality in our cities become clean by our own standards?
Getting a cleaner air is a dream which is hard but not impossible. Reason is very simple, which you talked about, climate change. When we talk about and natural ecosystem changes, what we are talking about is natural calamity, which has been getting changed where we do not have a much handle directly. As far as air pollution is concerned, this is in our hand. As I mentioned in the beginning, whether it is a climate change, whether it is a weather, whether it is a geography, it does not produce air pollutants. It only maneuver it, redistribute it. So in a first place, if we do not have anything to maneuver, anything to manipulate, what these things will manipulate? So the point, what I am trying to draw here is, we need a long-term strategy. There will be a spikes, even if the emissions become less, that is because of the large-scale circulation. For example, if winds become weaker, when emissions are there, when pollution are there, then only it will trap. When there is there are no, so that is my short answer to it.
So it is a solvable problem,
right.
And if everything goes according to plan, and if the governments do try in all earnestness, then when do you see at least the air quality in at least in the major cities which are very polluted, Delhi, for example? When do you see this coming to sort of a livable sort of air quality? Not exactly what we are seeing now. And this, in any case, it's a seasonal thing. Delhi doesn't have this kind of air quality throughout the year, but at least it is polluted. It does remain polluted almost throughout the year. So by when do you see some of that air quality improving to a livable sort of a standard?
Well, I will tell that with some riders. And riders are like this. We have pretty put a good handle as far as NCR is concerned on reducing the spikes.
Yes.
With the immediate method, but as you already told that these are something which will certainly is helping to reduce that. Spikes are there, but then certainly it's not a long-term solution.
Right.
Long-term solution has to be science-based.
Right.
There should be a very closer harmonization of a policymakers, planners, and disaster management people, where, for example, one of those things which I talk about is the airshed approach.
Yes.
Now we are not seeing any significant impact in this time, in spite of the fact that huge graded GRAP 4 action is in force and it is being implemented. It is implemented, but we are not seeing the impact of that. So the point here is to make this, we need to look the scientific approach, and that has to be, we must go on an airshed based approach where we need to take a collective action together, sitting together, working in isolation is not going to happen. Long-term strategy and planning.
So I'll come to the airshed approach in a minute, but let's also discuss some of the things that weigh heavy on the minds of common people. Some of our audiences are also asking similar questions. It seems there are simple things that we don't do very well or we completely ignore, and that is causing a huge amount of, that is contributing to air pollution in a big way. Things like dealing with dust management in our cities is pretty bad. The way we carry out a construction, all the open sites, construction material is stored and transported in open vehicles. These are familiar sites in any major city. If an overbridge is being constructed in any part, it takes, sometimes it takes a couple of years to build that overbridge, and all that while you see huge mounds of dust and construction material being stored in the open. Now, nowhere in the world does construction happen in this way. Nowhere in the world do open trucks ply carrying sand and other construction material. And these are relatively simple things. Fixing the quality of road, for example, the roads in our cities, even in Delhi, and the edges of roads which are not meant properly, and then they lead to a lot of coal tar getting released into, very harmful coal tar getting released into the atmosphere. So these seem to be fairly simple, straightforward, measures that can be taken. Road dust contributes almost between 20 to 30% of PM 2.5 in Delhi, isn't it?
And PM 10 is more than 50%.
More than 50% for PM10. So if those simple, and you don't even need to carry out any studies, you don't need to do anything to actually address some of these things. So a lot of people in Delhi outside probably rightfully get agitated on these kind of simpler things, instead of talking about more fanciful ideas of cloud seeding and odd and even, and we'll come to those a bit later. But there seem to be fairly simple, straightforward implementation issues, wherein if you just adhere to just the best practices, building a road is not a new concept. Roads have been built for centuries now. So the the people do get agitated because these simple things do not seem to be done properly, and they seem to have a very, very high contribution towards air pollution. So how do you get governments or authorities to actually pay attention on these things?
The major point here I see, well, I've seen for the last 2 winter seasons in Mumbai air quality. I've been closely watching, and other major problem remains the implementation issue. As you mentioned that when you go other places, you will see sometimes, when you are walking on the road, I'm talking about abroad, sometimes you get really irritated because everywhere they see there is a big curtain, somewhere they have put a lot of hurdle, then you have to walk for a longer and all. Why it is there? Why it is so? So the point, what my take is like this: there is no need of closing down the redevelopment activities, because development and economic development as well as health goes hands in hand. Air quality, if you really implement the guidelines which are existing, then I think we can handle this situation very strongly. Like what recently Mumbai came out with a new directives where 30 feet, sheets or curtains and all those. If they are implemented with a right spirit and really in reality and seriousness, then I think we can get rid of this. This is one. But then, in other workers and other citizens also, as you already saw, so the common sense also is very important, plays very important role. And that, will come only when there is a outreach activity and there is a, there is a lectures and, you need to, because our country people are very simple, very nice. But the only thing, information needs to go them. You need to have an outreach activity. You need to tell them that what it is like this. As you rightly mentioned, that trucks going with the cement and bajri and all those open, and then completely it is, dust are lifting, and the dust which is lifted when the heavy traffic is there, it never gets settled. It try to get settled, keep on, because there is already a gusting from the down. So there is an inertia. Similarly, the roads last mile connectivity, not for the people, last mile connectivity to the trucks. This is something which is again important. When you are in the city area, you have a good roads, then it is fine. There is no resuspended dust. But then when they go to the construction areas, like Turve area in Mumbai, when I see there are a lot of kacha roads. So they have been going for few kilometers in kacha roads. And there is a huge dust lifting. So the connectivity last mile, this is a problem. So the loading, unloading time, normally we do not see that there is a water sprinkling is there. And that is very important during or that kind of time. So, even my take here is that instead of having a water sprinkling everywhere, which is more of a water is precious again, you need to find out a focused study where you really require dust to settle. Hot spots, those are and that is where you should prioritize your action.
Yeah. So if you do the relatively simple and straightforward things, I mean, your PM 2.5 or PM 10 concentrations can be reduced by 20, 25, 30% almost overnight, isn't it? If you these are straightforward exercises, it doesn't take time.
Yeah, in fact, when the Mumbai air quality in the second, third week of October, it has gone down. I'm telling there was a kind of a tunnel, a kind of a vortex which was formed from Navi Mumbai to the deeper in the Mumbai area, and the colder wind coming from Sahyadri Hills and then meeting with the warmer dust-laden winds from the city and making a vortex and then getting transported towards Mumbai, where you have a monsoon withdrawal related calm wind conditions. So it is getting stagnant over there. Now, so continuously for a few days it has happened. So there is kind of a chain chain need to be broken. Had the chain would have been broken around Navi Mumbai area, then the flow would not have been that much, and we would recover even faster.
So, one of the things that has happened, Dr. Beig, in the last 10 years or so, is that air pollution has, the campaign around air pollution has been intensified. Media has picked it up, but people have started talking about it. Mainly, people have also started to feel the impact of the air pollution much more acutely than they were doing earlier. And that's why we see a huge outrage on air pollution, at least during this time of the year when things become very bad. So there's a huge amount of awareness. People are also demanding action from the government, even though it is restricted almost to this part of the year. So why do you think? What more do you think in terms of? I mean, why do political parties not make it an agenda? I mean, I'm not asking you to make a political comment here, but supposing you do. You do get consulted by different governments, state governments, central government. Do you see seriousness on part of the governments to address this issue? Because, I mean, ultimately, there has to be a lot of citizen participation as well. But some of the things only the governments are able to do. Do you see a seriousness from the governments to address this issue?
Well, I think that there is a seriousness, and slowly, I'm sure that it will get into the political agenda, because I hope you saw that when earlier in Delhi it has come. There are almost all the parties in some of the states. They came with their manifesto. Also,
Yep.
that cleaning of Delhi, that will put on all those. So slowly, it is happening from there. But the major issue, what is happening here, is that subtle effect of the air pollution is not visible to in your body. For example, when the flood comes or when there is a heat stroke is there, you will immediately fall sick. You will have immediate symptoms. Here, the point is that you are not having a symptoms, but internally you are damaging your body. And a large scale. So that is another thing, that visibility of an impact. If it is not happening, then visibility has to come through the outreach and communication. And I think that is what it is increasing of late. And then probably that will help a lot as all the media and other, different kind of a group. Even in governments, there are a lot of slogans and all those are coming with this. So I'm very optimistic about that.
Right. And let's also address the elephant in the room. And people who have been following the air pollution discussion, at least in Delhi, would be aware of the stubble burning happening in Punjab, which is considered to be one of the major reasons, at least during this time of the year, in causing this spike in air pollution. And you have addressed that in your slides as well. Now, stubble burning itself calls for a separate property discussion. It's a lengthy thing. But, this year, things have been slightly lower. I mean, the burning events in Punjab have been slightly lower, though not adequate. Haryana, the burning events have gone down significantly. Now, there are a lot of things happening, government initiatives, incentives, buying of that agricultural waste, turning it into energy, and all those things are happening. And because of which we have seen a slight decline in the burning events. But again, when do you see this episodic burning of agricultural waste in Punjab specifically becoming insignificant in terms of causing pollution over Delhi? Another 2, 3, 4 years, do you see it going down very, very significantly the way it has gone down in Haryana?
Well, I have two very specific points on that.
Yes.
Number one point is, we need to understand that stubble burning count going down doesn't really mean much.
Right.
Why? Because there is a threshold level, like 500 to 700, 800 fire counts are there.
Right.
Even if they are not 3,000, if they are 700, 800, 1,000 only. But if
Right.
weather conditions are so congenial, that is what it has happened on second this week.
Right.
last week, where we are sitting the week in that. Then the continuous pumping and intensity of those counts matters a lot. And it happens. There are several instances where we see that there are 3,000 to 4,000 fire counts are there. Weather conditions are not favorable. Transport level winds, which goes at about 900 to 950 millibar level, is about 500 to 1.5 kilometer range. Their winds are not fast enough to transport those things here. Directions are not there in this direction. Then Delhi was not affected. Even most of the places which is there, Noida is the first junction, junction where it get affected. So that is something which is what important. Two solutions. One solution I already told, that if we that is a purely, I am talking about as a scientist, not as a really policy maker. And feasibility and policy one need to see. One is, if you backwardly shift 35 days, more 1.5 months, the sowing period, then harvesting, if it happens in September, I think we have addressed the problem very significantly. Number one. This can happen when you can change either paddy fields to from paddy to other crops. Then paddy can go to southern part of India, where this kind of a climatological problems are relatively less. Number one. And number second is, I am very optimistic the way the work is going on for a solution to find out and then to generate the energy from the waste. So best out of the west, which is what working. So down the line in 4 to 5 years, I think that with these two combinations, probably this problem, because I see a lot of concentration, a lot of discussion, a lot of seriousness in this particular issue.
Right. Let me come to something that you had referred to, and a lot of people do speak about it, the airshed approach to, pollution management. If you could just tell our viewers, our audience, what exactly is it? What exactly do you mean by when you refer to airsheds? What are airsheds, and how is it different from having a city-specific sort of approach? Instead of dealing pollution only in Delhi, how does dealing with pollution and following the airshed approach, how does it make different, and how is it beneficial?
Well, the air pollution do not see the boundaries.
Right.
Whether it is a country boundaries, whether it is a state boundaries, whether it is a district boundaries. Right. So air pollution is free. Air is free to travel from one place to another. All those. Now something can travel with a much longer distance because their life is more. I'm talking about the concentration. There's a CO2
pollutants.
It remains there for hundreds of years. But PM 2.5 has a life of about 2 to 5 days or something. So it will travel for a level to something. So if you are telling that airshed of Delhi extend all the way up to, let us say, Jammu Kashmir, it is not. Because by the time it travels and come to Delhi, it will die down its own death, that PM 2.5. It will get deposited and all those. So the airshed approach is the one where not only within your local boundary of the city, whatever the sources which are affecting, but the sources beyond the boundary exploited by the geographical location, weather, climatology, also start affecting yourself with the transport at various level. And that airshed approach, airshed area mapping is a complicated issue, which for which you must have a knowledge about climatology, weather, and the domain expertise in air quality. But it is being done. It is possible to demarcate the airsheds. If you do that airshed, then you are taking care of not only the local sources, but within the lifetime of those particular pollutants which are really impacting you, which matters to your health, which are troubling your city. Looking at this, you can see that from where before getting deposited, it will enter to our city. And that is where you will see that Delhi being a landlocked where it can accept everything, but it can't vomit everything, or something like that. That is a big vessel where there is a small hole.
Yeah.
So everything can get into that, but it is finding place from where it can exit, and that is what it is. Whereas this is opposite in Delhi.
Yeah.
So that is what my simple explanation.
So you did mention about when talking about agricultural waste burning in Punjab, you did mention about this shifting of cropping patterns, shifting of the sowing of the kharif crop. And actually, one of the reasons for this burning incidents is because the sowing is now delayed. It used to happen a little earlier, just before the monsoon season. So, one of our audiences also is interested in this. If you could tell us, how is that possible? Whether there are studies that have been conducted on this, how can the sowing of kharif season, is it possible to shift it a little bit? Is this sowing, can it be done a little earlier than it is being done now?
Well, two things. Firstly, air pollution side, we have made a sensitivity study, and we have made a model to force. Let us see that sowing harvesting is done in September instead of October, November. Similar kind of a stubble is burned in October, November. Similar time is done in September, and we see that extreme pollution events has vanished over Delhi and IGB regions. So that is that paper is published, which is the urban climate. I have shown there. So that is now coming back to the point that why it was shifted, because whether it is possible or not, it is possible. Because why it is possible, I am not an agriculture scientist, but I see that earlier it was happening in 2005, 2006, 2007, used to happen like that. Yes. But as I understand that because of the fear that this paddy requires a lot of water, right? Yeah. So the paddy, a lot of water has to be there, and then it is not like any other crop. It requires water. Water has to be deep all the time. Then that water scarcity was not there that much, but it used to be from a water table from where it used to come out from there, and harvesting was happening. But then the fear was that if natural water from the ground, it continues, the water table will go down, and then there might be a problem in Punjab, Haryana, and associated regions for the drinking water related issues. Let us take the monsoon water and do that so that we can save hugely. The water table may not go down. But as my discussion with a few hydrologists and other, since I am not an expert, goes, they say that water table is really not, going up or something. They do not see any very significant visible impact in preserving the water table.
Sir, there is, we have heard it sometimes earlier as well. Is there a case for air pollution, especially during this time of the year when there is so much of a problem? Is there a case for air pollution being declared a national disaster or a calamity? Does it help in any way?
Well, see, I do not see, because the point is that national calamity and all those things, declaration, it helps when you can do quickly something. There is a quick fix of something. That's what I understand. In this, quick fix is not possible. In the sense that, for example, if suppose take a imaginary example that it is declared, and then everywhere the sources are stopped when Delhi is becoming a problem, like lockdown. Then it's not practical. So that's what my feeling is. But
I'll just ask you the last question before we move to we get our audiences involved in this, and they'll be asking their questions as well. So, is there any merit in having? You just mentioned quick fixes not probably being very useful in this kind of scenario. So, this in Delhi, you often have this odd even scheme, and something has been announced this year, and I gather that probably it has been postponed now. It's not happening from next week. Odd even scheme, cloud seeding experiments. They sound very, these are fancy ideas, but do they really work, and should we be investing in them? Cloud seeding specifically is a very, very expensive sort of a proposition. Odd even is a disruptive idea, but do they help? If they were helping, then probably yes, why not? But do they really help?
I will briefly tell a few sentences about both. Number one,
Yeah.
odd even.
Yeah.
In our case, odd even comes normally with the cars.
Right.
And car, if you see that their contribution in from the transport sector, something like
Right.
8 to 10% out of 41%, 8 to 10% from the car.
Right.
Now,
Private cars, you mean?
It is there. This is
Yeah.
the kind of emissions which are there, where odd even is likely to be implemented, suppose.
Right.
So you are targeting 8 to 10%.
Right.
With absolute strict implementation.
Right.
Now there are a lot of exemptions are there, huge amount
Yeah.
of exemptions. Two-wheelers are not there, and all those
Yeah.
kind of things.
Almost
So-
50 to 60% exemptions.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if you have 100, no exemption, zero exemption, you are targeting 5%. It's 8 to 10% or 50% of, because odd even like that.
Yeah.
And out of them, if you have a 50% exemptions, so 5% to 50% is again you come to about 2 to 3%.
Right.
Now the question is whether this 2 to 3% is really worth the problems a common man will face with this. And as I was understanding that when it was there last time, people have bought two vehicles. One is odd number, another one is number.
Yes.
So probably it has gone into that kind of. That is one. That is related with.
So the cost benefit probably does not add up. Does not seem to be very favorable, huh?
Right. So that was that related. Really, it is not that much kind of thing unless you stop all the vehicles.
Right.
So that is one. Second, coming back to this artificial seeding.
Yeah.
That is still a very interesting and very very unexplored area. Still, scientists are working on that particular thing. But there is one thing which is very important. For seeding a cloud, you should have a cloud.
Yeah.
Right. Now, since there was a prediction that on 20 and 21st there is going to be westerly disturbances, clouds are going to come, you see it and all. But that was a prediction of 10 days back.
Right.
Probably that prediction is not existing now. Now you plan, do everything and all, and then there are no clouds. What do you see? Whether it is worth having that kind of a thing, number one. Number two, clouds, all the clouds are not seedable. Should be a seeding clouds.
Right.
Because this is all again goes to cloud microphysics and all. And instead of typical meteorology, scientists are working very, very deeply in that particular aspects and trying to find out. So there is a called CCN, cloud condensation nuclei should be there.
Right.
Where in a vaporized form, you convert into the liquid form and then force them to do that. Again, clouds are moving where you are seeding, where it is raining. If at all it done, it is again anybody's guess. So I am little skeptic about that. But normally, cloud seeding is being done for the purpose of rain and
irrigation.
That is being done before monsoon, just before the onset of the monsoon, because before that there are a lot of seeding clouds are there. So there is
the moisture in the soil.
There is a lot of moisture, and there you may keep on making a lot of experiment with different kind of clouds. But here you are searching for the cloud and then looking for the seeding, and the moment you go plan for that is a planning. When you go for that, you find that there is a very clear sky above certain height.
So certainly not. I mean, solutions to air pollution maybe once in a while they can be useful in specific situations, but certainly not very dependable solutions as far as air pollution is concerned, isn't it? So now we get into our audience questions, and I would invite our one of our audiences first to ask the question. The first question would come from Nikita Saraswat. She is from Plutus IS. Nikita, if you're there, if you're listening, please go ahead and ask your question.
Nikita, can you hear?
Nikita, are you there?
Yeah, I am there. Like, am I audible to all?
Yes. Yes, please go ahead. Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
And my question is that, like, at what extent can like artificial rain benefit us in this situation? And also, there are like disadvantages to this practice? And if it is so, what do you suggest as an like alternative to do that? This is my question for today.
If artificial rain is successful, it should have a successful to the fact that it should have a significant amount of rain. Otherwise, it will happen what it has happened today. In fact, if there is only drizzling, then what happens then when the temperature is cooler, there is a secondary aerosol formation starts. So instead of improving air quality, it will try to improve because that PM 2.5 will start multiplying. So this is the negative effect of that. If it is a significant amount of rain is there, then it will wash away the particulate pollutants and it will improve the air quality. So these are the two factors, and it should be widespread.
Right. Thank you. Our next question is from Naman Kumar. Naman is an analyst with Deloitte. Naman, please go ahead and ask your question.
Naman, can you hear us?
Naman, are you there? Naman?
He's there, but we will move to the next question.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, sure. So the next question will come from Pratima Agnihotri, who is from Pune. Pratima is a lecturer in English and foreign languages at a college in Pune. Pratima, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. My question is slightly outside the purview of what was discussed in a big way. My question is that, like, mostly when it comes to trying to find out solutions, why aren't we thinking of the sort of using the solar energy in a big way? Because I feel that if we were to use solar, like in a place like Pune, for example, one of the huge reasons is the pollution due to vehicles. So like there are multiple ways in which solar energy, the solar panels, can be one of the best ways, and I've always wondered why it's not possible, because there are universities in Australia which have tried to minimize the cost, make the solar panels very easy to use. So because even if we were to use electric vehicles are also going to cause their own pollution. So I have always wondered why solar energy never gets used. Of course, it's not exactly in the purview, but I thought maybe I'll mention.
See, madam, it's very good question. But then, solar energy is being used. It is being promoted where it can be useful. But if you want to drive the vehicles, replace the solar energy by, fossil fuel, something that is not possible, because peak capacity, peak demand cannot be met with that. If you want to, warm the water for the, many people warm the water for taking bath in during winter with woods and all those things. So it can replace with that kind of a thing. But when there is a peak, heavy, dense demand for this, solar cannot replace that. So that is the issue.
Right. Thank you. The next question is from Bonani Kakkar. Bonani Kakkar is from Calcutta. Bonani, please go ahead.
Dr. Beig,
Yes.
I just wanted to you didn't address the question of corporate social responsibility. Here in Calcutta, when the pollution is at the worst, every year Tata decides to have a marathon in December. And does Tata not know the effects of air pollution if get involved in physical activities?
Yes, and these are something which really those people who are there, they should think of this, because in general, for the information to all the audience, I would like to tell that in 24 hours, a person in a day takes about 15,000 liters of air with the common activities. But if athlete, if you are running, then it is multiplying by 5 to 10 times. That is why athletes. So when you are taking 15,000 liters of air, if it is contaminated, even if it is 0.0001% or whatever, but then there is if it multiplied 15 becomes 50, then obviously that much proportionate of poison you are taking, PM 2.5 you are taking with that. So this is something which should be, but then I do not really what are other factors which pushes them to do. One of the factors which people say that it is a winter time, when you run, then you do not get exhausted in terms of a body heat. So that was something which was earlier, but then now these are the things which has come, that now air pollution is there. So I strongly feel that the people who have been organizing, they should take their cognizance of this particular aspects. And I see that in the last few years, sometime when there was a marathon and then it is being postponed or something, but it should be taken even more seriously.
Right. Thank you. So we are moving towards the end of this discussion, but I'll just try to compile some of the questions that are coming in from the audiences, and then we'll finish it there. So one of the things that is repeatedly asked in the context of air pollution these days, especially in a city like Delhi, is do air purifiers work? And in what circumstances do they work? Do they work in specific situations? Do they work very well at homes? Because a lot of people are very concerned, and they are buying air purifiers, they are installing air purifiers in their home, and a lot of them are not sure whether it actually works and helps them in any way.
Well, you need to understand what is the principle by which this air purifier works.
Right.
Normally, most of the air purifiers emits the negative ions,
right?
And negative ions are something which attracts the smaller particles of the opposite sign or neutral and neutralize them. PM 2.5 is a smaller particles, they are of that kind of a charging, and that get neutralized. Now, a whole range of the air purifiers are available from 10,000, 15,000 to about a few lakhs or something, where you must have seen there is a capacity.
Yeah.
So the very small letters, it is written that there is a upper capacity of this is this much, and all those in a technical terminology. There is a limit for producing from the source the negative ions. It can neutralize to a level. Beyond this, it will not work, because there is no source further to all the negative ions are consumed. And that is the reason that during the time which is happening in Delhi, I think most of the air purifiers must have been failed. Because even if it is if your PM 2.5 concentration is 400 microgram per meter cube, even if it reduced by 100, you get into 300 microgram per meter cube, but you are still in severe.
Right.
So my take is that it does help. But again, all the air purifiers, it depends on the capacity of the source which is generating and neutralizing these small tiny particles. And there is a limit to everything, that beyond which it becomes it is exactly the same thing when the temperature goes beyond a certain level during winter, during summer, even these coolers, water coolers fails.
Yeah.
So almost at the same time, but then that's my anyway candid answer.
Right. Quite a few of our audiences have wanted to know, Dr. Beig, what can they do to help the situation? I mean, at the individual level, what are these simple, straightforward actions that citizens can take to reduce the burden?
One most important thing which I myself have, which is indirect, myself says, creating awareness.
Right.
And creating awareness in a very positive way, not in a panic way. That you will do like this, then it will happen like this. No, I mean, you say that these are the things, and then try to explain the people that how it goes into that, and then so that they get self-motivated to take a self-mitigation measures. That is one of those people who can do those kind of a thing, being in the university, youngsters and all. One. Second thing is try to follow some smaller thing, not speaking on somebody who is making a drastic mistake in this or drastic error in that is not it itself is one of the error, one of the mistake. So try to be vocal to the people who are violating such kind of a norm which is very visible. And the last which I'll say that try to use your vehicle less, but even if you have to use, at least switch off whenever you feel you switch off. And then specifically my appeal to the 3, 4, 5 stroke engine two-wheeler motorcycle people are that even if you get late, but don't go into the unpaved area of the road, remain in the paved area. By going into the unpaved area, you are really damaging too much because there is a dust and you are never closing your vehicle, and then you are keep on if it is not tuned, which is normally many people do not have a tuned vehicle, then you are accelerating, and when you are accelerating, the dust is there from the behind you can't see it, but it is getting suspended adding to the particulate matter, and then it's never get into that.
Right. Thank you. Just last question before we close this up. Dr. Beig, would it be possible for you to list some of the actions that are already being taken in the short-term measures? What are the short-term measures? What are the long-term measures that are already being taken to improve the situation? You know, things like, leapfrogging of vehicle emission standards, for example, the setting up, defining of industrial emission standards, those kind of things. So what are some of the short-term measures that are already being taken? What are some of the long-term measures that are already being taken to help this situation?
Long-term measures which is happening is we cannot really switch totally to electrical, but this would be one of the biggest leap where we will be shifting from fossil fuel based to the electrical based. But one thing, it will not provide emissions, but then the most important thing which I see, which one of the listener, I think Mr. Bora, has asked that 40% emissions are there already for the vehicle. Then no check on the number of vehicle traffic contributes to that much. Reason is this only, because even if you convert it to suppose totally in non-CNG, these vehicles are there, but then there is a congestion. They go to unpaved area, the dust emission would be there, recipient dust are there. So making sure that free flow of traffic, less possible congestion by adjusting different kind of roads, infrastructure development, and traffic management. That always remains one of the biggest need of the hour, where you should have that kind of thing. I just simply slipped from my mind. You asked some last question.
I know. I was just asking some of the long-term and short-term measures that are already being taken.
Yeah. So those are the small, short. But I really feel, I think now there is a time that we must slip into medium-term and long-term goals. And in a system,
some of the other cities in the world, cities like Beijing, which was equally bad just about a decade ago, they have turned the things around. how much time do you give, say, to Delhi to turn things around? Another 5 years, 10 years, would we see things improved?
I will take 10 years.
10 years.
Optimistic, but then 10 years. But it all depends on how you are motivated to take the drastic steps. You see, this problem is related with our socio-economic conditions also.
Right.
When you all the time when you take about Western countries' condition, for example, odd even becomes successful over there because 90% of the people have a cars.
Right.
They don't have a two-wheel. I mean, they have a very least two-wheelers or lorries and all. They do not enter in the cities and all.
Right.
So if 90%, so the pollution is almost 100% coming from there, from the transport sector. You stop that, it has a significant impact. But here, cars are, as I told, about 8 to 10% a lot. So it all depends. We need to have our own indigenous. Our own issues, our own problem, our own sources, new sources are there, different sources are there. We need to tackle that particular thing. So a collective approach, integrated approach, where beyond the state or district boundaries, we sit together in a table, scientists, policymakers, activists, congenially, positively discuss and all, take bigger steps, as we talked about electrical vehicle. Although everybody is talking about electrical vehicle, but I see there is a distinct disadvantage also there. There are negative points, but positives are very high because we will require much more energy. For that energy, you need to burn the coal because most of the power plants are based on the coal base. So you need to increase the infrastructure, new technology. You need to retire the old power plants and get into that, or another sustainable way of different kind of a energy other than the coal based. We can't get rid of that because we are so much dependent on that. So that will increase batteries, disposable battery. Huge amount of batteries will dispose with the radioactive material. Some of the material like lithium, cadmium, our country is not yet self-sufficient in that. We need to import it. So then cost-benefit ratio and all those things will happen. But but then it is not. It is hard, but it's not difficult to choke out. But then of late, in a recent time, we did see that we were more concentrating on a short-term quick fixes, which was anyway required because there was a lot of public outcry. But then let us work for a long and medium-term solutions, which may give the results little delayed, but permanent solutions.
Permanent solutions. Right. Thank you. On that note, Dr. Beig, we'll end this discussion. Thank you so much for your time, for your effort, and for very patiently answering all our questions. I'm sure I hope our audiences also found it very useful. Thanks to everyone who joined in. A lot of you sent in questions. I wasn't able to take each one of them, but I guess at least some of those got answered during the course of this discussion. Thank you all for joining. A special thank you to Plutus IS for supporting this event. Thank you so much. We'll sign it off. I'm Amitabh Sinha with the Indian Express. Signing off now. Thank you, Dr. Beig. Thank you everyone who joined in.
Thank you very much for Indian Express, and thank you very much for all the patience listeners. And I wish that it comes to the help of the people, and then with this awareness get created, and then we get benefited from that, cleaning the air.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thanks. Bye.